Kassidy Hill, joined by Tom Silverstein, who was wanting to do this the other way so the wind doesn't blow in his face.
Hope you don't mind me answering questions like this.
You're going to have to watch spoons back the entire time we do this.
Yeah.
Don't take that as a metaphor or anything like that. But it is snowing in Lambeau. It's beautiful. If you're into that sort of thing.
Hurry up, let's go.
Like Spoon said, hurry up, let's go. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments. We're going to get to them here in just a minute about the Ravens win, the Browns game that's coming Saturday, what all's going on. But first, let's start with some breaking news, Spoon, that came out just within the last hour about Marquise Valdez-Scantling.
Yeah, he apparently tested positive for COVID, which puts him on the reserve list. We know he's vaccinated, at least sources say that he is vaccinated. It's interesting because the new protocol says the only way you are tested now is if you have symptoms or if you're part of the random group each week that the NFL designates. So chances are he had symptoms. We don't know that for sure, but if he did, that always means his chances of coming back are less. If he has no symptoms, if he's part of that random group, it's conceivable he could be ready for the Browns game. If he's not there, that's a big loss. We saw how important he was against the Ravens, and it seems like every time someone has a really big game, they run into COVID or something. They had Miss Kenny Clark last week and might not have MVS this week. So,
and it also seems like, especially with the receiver group, as you said, he had a big game, but I almost would expect someone else to step up on Saturday because that's sort of been their MO. It's been Alan Lazard or EQ or MVS. So I mean, it's next man up. It seems like as Devontae Adams is getting double and triple team down there. So
yeah.
Is there another guy that can step up?
Well, what's interesting is they could be without 4 wide receivers. So Randall Cobb is out.
Right.
Let's say MVS is out. Malik Taylor did not participate because of a shoulder injury. And Amari Rogers has a shoulder injury, and I'm forgetting someone. I guess that's 4.
That's 4.
With Malik Taylor. Oh, yeah, Equinemius St. Brown is still listed as having the concussion. So we don't know for sure if he's going to play. So that would, conceivably, they could be down to Adams, Lazard, and Juwan Winfrey, and maybe Amari Rogers. They have 2 guys on the practice squad, Chris Blair and Josh Malone, who they could bring up. So we'll see how that goes.
Mike asked about Alexander and Bakhtiari, so does John. Matt LaFleur sort of put the kibosh on that pretty early today.
Yeah, and the interesting part was that Bakhtiari was listed as a did not participate. Now, they didn't practice today, but they're supposed to give estimated, status, and he was a did not participate. So after practicing last week, all of a sudden he's not. I don't know. That's something we'll have to ask Matt LaFleur about tomorrow and see if Bakhtiari is at practice. But he's not playing this week, so I don't know if he had another setback or maybe they just want to rest him a little bit after a week of practice. I'm not sure.
Maybe the estimate is he wouldn't have since he's not going to play. But yeah, like
right,
you said,
that's true.
Matt LaFleur has been sort of vague, and maybe, hopefully, possibly for him to come just straight out and say, I don't expect to have either one of them this Saturday, seemed very adamant.
Like, I'm not surprised about Alexander. We talked about that in the podcast. I didn't think he was coming back this week. But Bakhtiari, I thought, had a chance. So we'll ask LaFleur tomorrow about that.
Eric Russell asked, how do they determine the random group for testing?
It's not real specific, but the NFL will, according to what you and I both tried to decipher from the
right.
most recent protocol, they will pick like random positions. Now it might have to do with, I don't know, guys who got it. Let's say, for instance, on Monday, Baltimore Ravens outside linebacker Justin Houston tested positive. So he just played. Maybe they go and test the Packers offensive line is the test group that week. They tend to do it by position because position guys are all next to each other during the whole week. They spend the most time together. So either it's like they're randomly picking positions or they're strategically doing it. So
They're just throwing darts at a wall, maybe.
yeah, or hey, there's a bunch of receivers in the league who have tested positive. Let's test defensive backs,
Yeah.
or I don't know,
very possibly.
something like that.
Levi asked, or sorry, yes, Mitchell asked, or should the Packers go with a double tight end set to slow down the pass rush from Garrett and Clowney? Of course, the status for both of those guys is a little up in the air, but let's assume they're on the field for the sake of argument. So Mitchell asked, should the Packers go with the double tight end set? And then, speaking of tight ends, Levi asked, is Tyler Davis's role growing? We saw a heck of a throw from Rodgers to Tyler Davis on Sunday.
And a good catch too. Don't minimize that. That was a heck of a catch. Yeah, you could do that. The thing I always think is the more people you put up there, then the more guys the Browns bring up there, and you just you can wind up making it worse. I think what you do is you chip Myles Garrett every single time. You treat him like Aaron Donald.
Right.
You just don't let him. Clowney, you can risk blocking him with one guy, but I wouldn't do Myles Garrett very often.
Right. And Clowney is a step slower than he used to be, so Myles Garrett's your bigger concern there, right?
Yeah, and if Dennis Kelly can handle that, and Garrett, I would consistently slide to him. I would bring the back to Chip, and then I would line a tight end over there occasionally too.
Right. John asked if Randall Cobb will be back for the playoffs. Based on the timeline of what we know about those injuries, that's a reasonable estimate, correct?
Yeah, especially since we saw him running last week in practice, jogging. They do like them to get moving on those after those core muscle surgeries. In fact, they have them walking the same day. They don't want it to get tight. So I don't want to read too much into that. But I would say, yeah, there's a chance he could be back for the playoffs for sure.
Levi asks, or says, the key to victory is stopping Nick Chubb. If he goes off, the Browns can win.
Yeah, he's a good player. Very good player. That's why they need Kenny Clark back in the worst way. It'll have been, Kenny Clark went on the list, on Wednesday or Thursday?
I think they officially, we heard about it, and then it was a day. I think it was Thursday afternoon when they put him on because it was after the NFL's updated policies had come out.
So Thursday, it's not quite 10 days, so he's going to have to test negative in order to get back on the field. So we'll see.
And then Mike asked, when did the Packers have to activate Alexander? I believe it's next Wednesday?
It's Wednesday. Yeah. Yep, a week from Wednesday, the 29th.
Yes. Oh, Mike, you said the 29th as well. Good job. It is freezing out here, so we're going to take a couple more questions before we head back in. Speaking of the COVID stuff and the abbreviated practice, you wrote wrote a piece on that today, so they can find it on PackersNews.com. Was there anything else from that stood out?
Interesting that LaFleur, the veterans came to LaFleur and said, hey, we're a little bit dragging, and any break you could give us would be good. And so he canceled practice today, sent them home after 1 o'clock, and said, come back tomorrow and we'll hit it harder tomorrow. And I thought that's probably a good move. Why not? The Browns are coming in with 5 days rest, and you don't want to be a tired team when two tired teams facing each other. You want that advantage. So not a bad idea.
He always seems to have a good pulse on what his guys need and when.
Yeah. Well, he's got Aaron Rodgers there half coaching the team too, so saying, hey, give us off. And then what's he going to say? No.
Exactly. Mitchell says, looking at the wind blowing behind you, the Packers really need to run the ball more. That's what we're here for, Mitchell. We're here to help the Packers game plan.
Yeah, it is. If you could see the flag, it is just almost straight. So I don't know if it'll be like this on Sunday, but Saturday. I keep saying Sunday. I don't think it's supposed to be this cold.
A couple of questions about Kenny Stills. Are they able to sign him? I'm trying to think of where.
Stills?
Yeah, wide receiver.
There's just been a couple of different asking if they could sign him.
Oh, they could.
Do you need him?
If he's a free agent, you could. I don't think so. No, I think they're good enough. A wide receiver. I don't think they're devastated there.
Baker Mayfield gets sort of categorized as a mobile quarterback, and justifiably so. But Todd says get a beat on Mayfield. He can't scramble like the last quarterback. Is he going to be easier to slow down than some of the more recent ones they faced?
Yes. No question.
Y'all can hear at the wind maybe taking Spoon's voice.
Yeah, he's a guy they can get after. I think this is a game where they're outside linebackers and Clark, if he's there, they have to get after Mayfield and get in his face. That's going to be key.
We are going to sign off here and head back in.
I know, I can feel my nose right now.
We're done for. But thank you for joining us for this live question and answer session. You can read a full report from today on PackersNews.com, and we will stay with you through this holiday week as the Packers get ready to take on the Cleveland Browns. Thanks so much, Spoon.